Good morning. It is the 1st of May, which means, more importantly, it is the first day of our Mirabilia challenge. So I have all my bits here ready to go, and I'm going to start with the chart, as always, and we're going to see how much stitching we can get done this morning, starting a little bit later than I planned. So I think I might only get about an hour and a half before I need to go and do some actual work. So let's get started and let's put the first stitch in this piece. I know that a lot of the people watching these videos are really good stitchers themselves, probably much better than me, but I also know that we do have a few newer stitchers watching. And so for their sake, I'm just going to very quickly explain how I like to start these pieces. I like to start a Mirabilia and most projects in the middle. The exception to that is full coverage. And so to find the middle of the chart, we're looking for the arrows. So on the Mirabilia, because it's split over 2 pages, so half the chart is on one page and then on the other side is the other half of the page, the Mirabilia, or the Mirabilia, the arrow appears. It's very early and my brain is very slow to wake up. The arrow is kind of at the bottom of the chart, if that makes sense, but it is signifying the middle. It's just that it's half on one page and half on the other. So we're looking for this arrow on the side, which is 1, 2, 3, the third stitch up. Now, as you can see, I hope, the 2 little squares here are actually shaded, and the shading signifies an overlap. So these 2 blocks are on this page, but the same 2 blocks are also on the other page, just so that we can line everything up. So it's just making you aware that these 2 blocks are the blocks that are repeated. So our arrow is pointing to the third stitch up, or the first one that's not shaded. So what we would do is follow that across and say, okay, it's the third one up. And then if I go over here, we can see that we have another arrow, and this is signifying the middle this way. So we have the middle this way, we have the middle this way, so like this, and we're looking for that point of intersection. Now I can't show you that because it's showing the stitches. This is why I have these sheets of paper. Of course, you wouldn't have the sheets of paper. So what you're looking for is you want to bring your finger over here and then count up 1, 2, 3, because it was 1, 2, 3, or the top, the first row of stitches that's above the shaded area. So that's how you would find your central stitch, and that's how you would find your starting point if you choose to start in the center. And if you're wondering what these white sheets of paper are, they're actually photocopies of this chart. So these Mirabilias are on massive pieces of paper, and I like to photocopy them, excuse me, I like to photocopy them onto A4 sheets. In an ideal world, I would photocopy them onto a big sheet, but I just do A4 sheets. And as long as you're keeping your original with you and not giving it away or lending it, it's okay to make a working copy. So the central stitch on my chart is this symbol here, this kind of sideways V, and it corresponds to 734. So now I need to get out my 734 and thread my needle with 2 strands of the 734. And of course, I'm going to double it over so that there's a loop on one end so that I can use the loop start method. So I've taken out my 734. I have threaded my needle by pulling out a single strand, doubling it over. You probably can't see that, but the loop end, see there's a little loop? That is now the longer tail end, and then the 2 cut ends are the shorter tail ends. So that's our thread ready to go. And now we just need to sort out our fabric. Now it's a little bit hard because this doesn't really go high enough for me to show you the full piece of fabric. But the first thing I'm going to do is get the orientation of our fabric correctly. So do you remember when we did our calculations, we discovered that the piece, although it looks square, is actually slightly taller than it is wide. So that means that we're going to have our fabric in, I guess, a portrait format. So it's going to be taller than it is long. I know you can't see this, I am sorry. And then the width is going to be, the shorter length is going to be going across this way. Now, usually what I would do is I would fold my fabric, fold it again, find that cross that the folding makes and use that as the center point. But this fabric, not sure if you'll be able to see, has actually been folded quite a few times and it's really held the fold. Now I could get out the iron and do it that way, but what I'm actually going to do is take out a measuring tape and I'm going to measure from here. So if you can see, this is my selvage. I'm not going to take it up here. I'm going to take it here. Now it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because this way is, we've quite a lot of excess to do or to play with, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to measure from here down, get the measurement, which I think should be 70 centimeters, and then find half of that, which is 35, and then mark that point, and then the other way should be 50, half of that is 25, and mark that point, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm going to do now. Again, I know you won't be able to see this, but I'm just placing the edge of my measuring tape on the edge of my fabric. I'm going to pull that down, and it is 70. Perfect. And then from side to side is 50. So what I need to do is again measure down till I get to 35, which is about here. No, it's not, because I'm holding my measuring tape the wrong way. It's here. Where's my needle gone? There we go. So I'm going to just pop my needle in there, and then we're going to take it across and find our 25, which is here. So this is where I'm going to place my first stitch at this point here. And as you can see, that doesn't really correspond with the fold lines, so that's why I did it with the tape. Now that we have our first stitch placed, which is just here, I'm going to put my fabric into a snap frame from Nerge. Don't mind the fact that the thread is just pulled through to the front. That was just to get it out of the way when I did this. So here's our center point. I'm going to pop the frame without the clips, of course, underneath the fabric, center that stitch, and then pop on our clamps. Now, this is going to make our little table shake a tiny bit, but I am sorry about that. So do this, and then it's just a matter of tightening them up. And then I am probably going to use my magnetic cable ties wherever they are. For here, I'm probably going to use them just to tie up the edges of the fabric. And now I'm going to stitch for about an hour, and I'll come back to you then and show you if I've made any progress. Here is where we are after an hour. So what I'm actually working on here is, I think about the middle of the dress, somewhere around here. Not 100% sure, but that will obviously become clearer. And I have just moved my fabric in the frame, because whilst we started here, I then decided to move over to the left, so I had to shift the fabric in the frame. So the dress is going to be my first area of focus. I've actually given myself, if I just move that out of the way for a second, here is my wall calendar. It's a Chris Dunn calendar, and this piece here has been charted by Pain Free Crafts, and it's one of the many Wind in the Willows pieces I would love to stitch. But anyway, we're not here to talk about full coverage. So if I just adjust this a little bit, I have commandeered my calendar for this month. This would usually have payment deadlines and all kinds of things, but I'm just using it for Mirabilia for this month, and I've given myself like little deadlines. So obviously today is day one and I'm starting the dress. I want to have the dress done by next Thursday. The following day I'm going to start the cushion. So she has her head kind of resting on a cushion. When I say the cushion, I won't be including the beads. The beads will be at the end. So yeah, the cushion on the 8th, have that finished by the 10th. The 11th, I want to start the blanket. So again, it's like a blue blanket. Finish on the 15th. So finish the blanket on the 15th, and then on the 16th start the tree, and on the 17th finish the tree. This I think is going to be a problem because one, the tree, although the actual tree trunk itself, there isn't a huge amount of it, there is a lot of branches, and I think I've included the branches in the tree. And then this day, the 17th, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be here. I might get up, early in the morning and do a little bit of stitching, but I just don't know how that's going to work. So I might try and move the blanket back a day and move these back, but we'll see. Then on the 18th, I have down to start the skin. Now, I'm not 100% certain what I'm going to do about the skin yet because the skin is charted 2/2. So I'm either going to leave it 2/2 or rechart it as 1/1. That would obviously take a lot of time, but I have given myself 4 days to do the skin, and I do think 1/1 looks better. Not 100% certain on that one. Tell me what you think if you have an opinion on that. 22nd, start the hair. 3 days to do the hair. You know what? That's probably a bit generous. I probably don't need 3 days to do the hair, but it might be when I catch up on other things. The 25th, then start the wings. This is when the Krynic is going to start coming out, and the speciality threads, the metallic threads, and that's when I'm going to have to make those decisions that we spoke about in the last video about whether I'm going to use the light effects or the satin, DMC satin on that one, and then finish that by the 28th. And then the last 3 days I have put aside for beading. I really like beading, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a challenge. Again, I'm not using the treasures. So this is my plan. I think what's going to catch me out could be the dress or the tree. Yeah. Because I have a tendency with full coverage, with cross stitch, to underestimate how long things are going to take. But yeah, that's my plan, and we will see how that goes. I'm not going to do any more stitching now. I did plan to do another hour. I planned to do 2 hours this morning, but time kind of ran away with me, and I do actually need to go and do some work now. Can't spend the whole day stitching, but I will come back. Maybe I might get an hour after lunch and then work later into the evening. This is the beauty of being self-employed. I might do that, or I might just work the day through and then come back in the evening. So it's just gone 6:25, and I've just done an hour of stitching. Had quite a heavy day in a weird way because it's the first of the month. So it's the day that I try and catch up on all the previous month's accounts and bookwork and all that kind of thing, which I don't mind doing, but it just means a lot of staring at a computer screen, and you're kind of a bit spaced out afterwards. So I made myself an iced latte, a very millennial drink, and did an hour of stitching. It took a little break in between, just had to quickly go and do something else. But this is this is where we are. So this is 2 hours of stitching on her dress, and I'm going to go now do a small bit of work in the garden and then make dinner, and then hopefully get 2 hours stitching done this evening. I know, a Friday night, and this is what I'm doing. Absolutely wild. It is just gone 11 o'clock. It's about 11:05, I think. And I got about an hour's stitching done. I just had a few other things to do this evening, so didn't get as much done as I wanted to. But this is where we are finishing on day 1. And it actually is more than you might think. It looks like nothing, but when I compare it to the picture of the dress, it's not bad. So this is where we're ending on day 1, and I will see you in the morning for day 2. Tomorrow is Saturday. I do have a lot of things to do tomorrow, but it is Saturday, so hopefully I will get a little bit more stitching done. See you then.